It's time for the Rundown with Rob Sanders.
Well, we're waiting.
And welcome in to the Rundown on Fox Sports Radio 1400. My name is Rob Sanders. Thanks for joining me this afternoon as we get you squared away here. It's Max Fried Day here on the show. Max Fried carrying a heavy load in Los Angeles today. He has the ball in his hand as the Atlanta Braves tonight look to make it back to the World Series. And let's make sure that we put this out there too. Baseball doesn't want to do that. They don't want the Atlanta Braves in the World Series. They'd rather have the Red Sox and the Dodgers because they think that's what generates more money. Even though, let's just be honest, the two teams in the American League Championship Series absolutely cheated in the past 5 years, where they were actually stealing signs and using electronics and doing all kinds of things to filming and all kind of stuff. Yeah, those two teams did that, and they should have had a postseason ban for 10 years. Absolutely 10 years. Okay? But they're still they shook it off and went about their merry way. That's one of the main problems in baseball, is that there's just a love affair with the Yankees and the Red Sox, basically. The Astros, as bad as they cheated, they shouldn't be even remotely into any conversation as far as going to the World Series. That's why we joke about the Braves being America's team. The reality is that they are America's team. If they can get to the World Series and beat those cheating bastards, because that's what they are, I still think that they cheat. I'm sorry. And by the way, they play in the American League, and the American League's cheating anyway. So there's that. So anyway, I have bitterness in my heart when it comes to that kind of thing, and I'm working to get better on that. But Max Fried has a tough job today. He has the capability to bring the Braves back to the promised land. Yes, he does. And with that, good luck tonight, sir. We will take Go Braves conversation in the calls today at 803-978-1832. If you want to defend your cheating team, the Red Sox, the Astros, whatever, we'll be happy to take those calls too. We'll also take calls from Dodgers fans who claim that the Braves are stealing signs, even though, it's not happening. Maybe your pitcher's tipping things off. That's part of the game. We're not using electronics to steal them. Maybe your pitchers should not tip pitches. Maybe it's that too. Anyway, baseball tonight, I will be watching that. The NFL game, I could care less about Case Keenum subbing in for Baker Mayfield. Who cares? I know it's the NFL and everyone loves the NFL. The world is watching tonight as Max Fried takes the ball for the Braves and eliminates those dirty, stinking Dodgers, because that's exactly what they are. Anyway, let's move to some football talk. I have to talk about Tennessee. Now, I'm not talking about the Tennessee that we're not railing Tennessee for, the 1,000 fans that decided to throw bottles and stuff at Lane Kiffin and act like complete buffoons. No, I'm not doing that. I'm talking about the entire Tennessee athletic department. We'll get into that in a moment. 803-978-1832. We always move callers up front. Let's head out to the phones. Welcome into the Rundown. Good afternoon.
Hey, Rob, this is the Biscuit.
Biscuit, what's up, brother?
Hey, no, I was just going to touch on something you were just talking about a moment ago. I mean, I'm going to tie it into football too, though.
Sure.
But there are certain stories that are kind of national narratives that these writers go off of that are such nonsense. Like you were just talking about baseball and the love affair with the big city teams.
Yep, it's absolutely true.
There's the writers that are always constantly cheaply attacking Atlanta fans all the time. I've watched all of the NLCS games. The environment in Atlanta dwarfed and killed anything that LA produced in their two games. It sounded like a day in the park in LA during the games. There was no fire, no anything, but you don't hear any of the writers talking about that.
Well, I've got a plan for that. Someone needs to take guys like Bill Plaschke, the guy that was running his mouth and Peter Moreland called him out. He just needs some Southern hospitality. And I'll extend this to him as well. I mean, he was talking about a Waffle House trip. I will pay for your Waffle House, sir, when you're in Atlanta. I don't even have to sit there and eat it with you. Just send me the bill and I'll be happy to pay it for you. He needs some good Waffle House in him. And you know what? I hate to be this guy too. Maybe they should take him to what's the strip club in Atlanta? He needs to go there too. The one where all the NFL players and NBA players go. Take him there too. The guy needs some Southern
you're 20
culture
years
in his
beyond
life.
me on that one.
Yeah, I'm just saying.
I've been to those in a long time.
I know. I don't do that kind of thing either. Let me put that out there. But the guy needs some Southern loving in his life. He needs some Waffle House and whatever the Gold Club in Atlanta. Let him have some of that, and then he can
he's
talk
not the
about
only one that does that, though. There's a lot of ESPN guys that do that, and it's the cheap narrative because you know what? You can do that and get viewership and people listening to you without having to do any research or any real work.
Right.
It's easy to say that and pile on.
It certainly is, and I know it sounds like I'm talking like it's the Civil War here, but it's not. They want to rip the South. Magic City, thank you. There's some gentlemen that know about that in the chat room. We won't center you out, but yeah, that came up big. Magic City in Atlanta. There you go. But
so the other kind I want to say is there's another national narrative that's in college football right now.
Sure.
And that is Georgia's offense is terrible. And the guy you were talking to on your earlier show, 11, was touching on this too.
Yeah.
And statistically speaking, these guys are absolutely wrong. And I'll tell you that. So, let me ask you this: do you consider Alabama an elite offense?
I think Alabama's offense is not as good as it could be, but it's pretty good. I've seen Georgia's numbers, and I know where you're going. But go ahead.
No, well, because or Ole Miss. Do you consider Ole Miss an elite offense?
I could say the only real elite offense, in my opinion, is Pitt. They're averaging 52 points a game. I think that's pretty good offense.
Right. So everybody, when you talk about because I've heard from a number of people on these message boards or whatever, and they've said that they always are that Alabama's offense is elite, Ole Miss's offense is elite. Alabama and Ole Miss average about 6.87 yards per play.
Right.
Georgia averages 6.74 yards a play. Now that's not like total yardage in a game. That's a more accurate assessment because it's if you're more of a running team or you play more teams that run the ball and the clock runs out, it's a better way of assessing how good an offense really is. So you're talking about if both teams play the same number of plays in a game, Alabama gained 6 more yards.
Yeah, I get where you're going in the math too, but I think that when you look at it from this perspective as well, when you have the kind of offense that Georgia runs, it ends up working out better for the defense because they're able to control the ball a little bit better. And that defense is technically more fresh in the third and fourth quarter if everything is running the way that they're supposed to. And instead of those big defensive linemen out there with their hands on their hips, they're still putting their hand in the dirt and going after it. I think that's a big part of it too.
Well, the other thing is Georgia's played more offenses like Kentucky that want to do almost the same thing as they do, which is get a lead and then run the ball down people's throat.
I can't let you go with saying Kentucky has offense. They don't have an offense. Kentucky's a terrible team on the offensive side of the ball, but I get where you're going on that, though.
I don't agree with that. I don't think they're terrible. I think hyperbole is used too much when people talk about sports. They either say if someone's not super elite, they say they stink.
I think if you're heavy on one side of the ball,
offense, I don't think it's elite.
I think if you're heavy on one side of the ball,
they've got good running backs. I think they've got a pretty great offensive line.
Sure.
I think their quarterback is still questionable. I think their play calling is questionable. I think they didn't go vertical enough. I think against Georgia they went too lateral a lot. But because they didn't test Georgia at all. But the other interesting thing I saw statistically is this. Everybody talks about, okay, so right now the elite offense in the country that everybody's talking about is Ohio State.
Right.
Ohio State is averaging 8.5 yards a play, okay, which is like 1.8 more yards than Alabama right now, which is that's significant, right? The best defense they've played isn't even in the top 50.
Yeah, and I get that as far as total defense is what you're telling me.
Yes.
Okay.
And actually, the best defense they played would kind of surprise you, I bet, Minnesota. And Minnesota is worse than South Carolina. So we're talking about Ohio State hasn't played anyone better than South Carolina's defense yet.
Well,
so I'm not suggesting that like Ohio State doesn't have an elite offense, but
right.
What I'm going to suggest is if people are going to question Georgia all the time and Georgia has played 4 teams that are better defensively by far than anyone Ohio State has played. If they're going to question Georgia, that question needs to come up for Ohio State as well.
That's a valid thing there. And by the way, Ohio State, their schedule picks up here later on. So
yes, yeah, they have. That's my point though. But everybody's basing this off. This is a team that lost to Oregon, who looks terrible. By the way, I think that Oregon game where they beat Cal by 7 was more an indictment than any of the other games, even the Stanford game. I mean, that was terrible.
Yep, that's a good point, man. Yep.
Well,
yeah, I agree with what you're saying. I think Ohio State's schedule is going to pick up a little bit later on. And if you've listened to me on the show, I haven't ripped the Georgia offense. I think Georgia's offense is balanced. I think that they're a better running team than they are a passing team, but I think a lot of that has to do with the fact that of the injuries that they're dealing with. I think Georgia would be a lot more balanced if they had JT Daniels back and the receivers and all that are out too. So Georgia's a machine right now.
Yeah,
that's pretty much
I
what
haven't
it boils
heard that
down
from
to.
you, but I hear that all the time from multiple shows that are on YouTube from other fans and stuff like that. Somehow Georgia's offense stinks and their defense is only good, and it's no.
In fairness, they may be doing that as to compare them as units because the defensive unit is elite, and they think that okay, if they have an elite defensive unit, the offense should be right there. And it's not really fair because of how great that Georgia defense is. So that may be part of it too, just the psyche in that.
Right. No doubt. But I just thought it would surprise some people as to statistically how close Georgia is to like Alabama, for example.
Yeah, that's a good point, man. Well, I appreciate you calling, Biscuit. Go Braves.
Yeah, no doubt. Go
All right.
Braves.
All right, we'll see you later. All right, Biscuit joined us on the program. Let's talk about this Tennessee story really quick here before we go to break. So here's the big thing with this. Tennessee fired Jeremy Pruitt without cause. They owe him $12 million, $12.6 million. What's $600,000 between friends? Anyway, so they owe him $12.6 million in his buyout, but they fired him with cause, meaning they had a reason to do it. They said that the reason they did it was because of the level 1 and level 2 violations that are coming from the NCAA. Now, here's the issue with that. If you ask the average Tennessee fan, they're going to tell you, we're not getting anything from the NCAA. We're going to get a pop on the wrist, and we're going to have to move on and on with everything that's going on. Tennessee has to make a decision here, okay? The attorney for Jeremy Pruitt said if you don't cut his check by October the 29th, we are going to basically come out and say, you know what, there's a lot more cheating going on at Tennessee. That's basically what he's going with there. And if you don't come out and pay it, then there you go. The memo says it will embarrass UT and those associated with it, including its largest boosters, and result in debilitating NCAA sanctions. So what he's saying is this: you need to pay me some shut up money. And I don't think that they're going to, Tennessee has said, we're not going to do it. Here's the thing on that. Tennessee needs to make a choice. If there are things that are going on that are behind the scenes that we don't know about, and maybe the NCAA doesn't know about, the reality is this: you should probably pay him and shut up. Because apparently Jeremy Pruitt doesn't care. He's a defensive analyst, I think, for the New York Giants now. He's going to be in the NFL. That's what he wants to do. But if Tennessee gets off like the average Tennessee fan says, oh, wow, we're just going to, we'll have a reduction in scholarships, but they fired him for all the quote unquote level 1 and level 2 violations that are coming from the NCAA. If they don't get punished for that, I mean, they really don't have a leg to stand on. They're trying to basically say, yeah, you cheated and that's why we fired you and we're not going to pay you. But if nothing happens to them, it's going to be a world of crazy. Embarrass UT and those associated with it, including its largest boosters, and result in debilitating NCAA sanctions. That's what the attorney put out there. I'm not under the illusion that programs don't cheat. I think everyone cheats. That's just the way that it is. But in the end, is $12 million really? I mean, it's a lot of money to us, but as far as to an athletic program, they had to get rid of Jeremy Pruitt. Had to. Jeremy Pruitt, if you went to him, he would probably take a little bit less than the 12 million, I would think, unless you keep running your mouth saying, no, we're not going to pay you. I think if they went to him and said, you know what? Look, we'll give you $9 million. You agree to shut your mouth and take your $9 million and go and continue to be a defensive analyst for the New York Giants. I think that's the way it should be. And he probably would have taken. Jerome with the, this might be the quote of the day. He'll take lifetime McDonald's. You win, sir. I think that they should pay upfront and quickly. Go and put your lawyers in a room, take them all down to the Hilton, have them rent out a ballroom or an office or whatever, have them sit down. You can do a Zoom meeting if you don't want to sit in the same room with them, whatever. Come up with something and then pay him. You don't want him to be there. You couldn't really have him there anymore. Shut up and pay him. Or do you think the other way? Tennessee should be like, you know what? You got us in trouble. We're not paying you. 803-978-1832, 803-978-1832. Jimmy says, can you get $9 million in a McDonald's bag? They may have tried that. You never know. Jay says, take him on Judge Joe Brown. His attorney is not playing. He's not having it. 803-978-1832, 803-978-1832. That is the number to call if you'd like to join us here on the Rundown this afternoon on Fox Sports Radio 1400 around the world on the iHeartRadio app. We can talk about that. We can also, I've got 3 candidates I think that make sense for the LSU job, and I think 3 people that they shouldn't go after. So we'll get into that. And when we come back, I'm going to talk about a playoff scenario that will shake you to the core a little bit, and it's going to make you have to make some tough decisions. We'll have that for you when we come back. This is The Rundown. You're listening to Fox Sports Radio 1400. Yo, the McDonald's lines are still funny. I don't care what anybody says. Ouch, biscuit. I've always joked if they were using Chick-fil-A, that's God's chicken. Nobody would have found out. By the way, I have a theory on the pandemic. You want to know why the pandemic started? Because, what was it? Popeyes decided to have a viral chicken sandwich war against Chick-fil-A. You mess with God's chicken, now we got the COVID. That's pretty funny and sad. Well, welcome back to the Rundown on Fox Sports Radio 1400 around the world in the iHeartRadio app. I'm Rob Sanders. Thanks for joining us today. You're free to join the show at 803-978-1832, 803-978-1832. If you'd like to join us on the program, we'll take your calls. I've got a playoff scenario that's in the mix here. I wanted to throw out there. Now, obviously, it's very early. Got, a couple of weeks before they actually put out the first round of the college football playoff rankings, which, by the way, are just for TV and for people like me to talk about. In the end, it doesn't really matter. They're going to, have the final ones, and that's the one they're going to go with. But doing some looking today. Here is the playoff scenario that no one in the college football playoff committee wants. Cincinnati wins out. The rest of their schedule is stupid easy. Their best wins are at Indiana and at Notre Dame. They won there in back-to-back weeks. Probably they look like they're the best G5 team you could probably say ever at this point. Oregon wins the Pac-12, finishes undefeated in the Pac-12. Their only loss, with their only loss being to not undefeated, their only loss being to Stanford, but they did beat Ohio State. So there's that. Now, stick with me. Oklahoma State wins out, and they win the Big 12 title, which will put them over Oklahoma the last game of the season. Ohio State lost to Oregon, and then the rest of the year, they went out over the Big 10 and win the Big 10 title. Only loss on the year, a 7-point loss to the Pac-12 champion. Alabama lost to Texas A&M. They win the SEC title over Georgia. Georgia loses the SEC championship after an undefeated regular season. Their only loss is to Alabama by a field goal in Atlanta. Who do you put in the playoffs? 803-978-1832. 803-978-1832. That is the number to dial if you'd like to play a little playoff scenario with me here today on the Rundown. I think that it's going to be an interesting thing here. And I think there's a lot of people that are looking at it from this perspective. And the perspective is that you have the Cincinnati is going to get in. I honestly think that's going to happen. Now, there's also going to be a set of folks that are like, wait a minute, we have to have the Big Ten champion in, especially if Ohio State goes undefeated in the Big Ten and wins the Big Ten. How do you put them out? How does that happen? I think there's going to be people that say the SEC champion has to go. If you have a one-loss SEC champion, they got to go. That's the way that it is. Are you going to tell Oregon, who lost to Stanford, but wins the Pac-12, has a win over Ohio State, that they can't be in the college football playoff? And then we're going to have, of course, the dilemma there with the SEC. Alabama loses to Texas A&M, but they beat Georgia. Georgia loses close. Now, I know the SEC apologist folks out there are going to be like, you have to take Alabama and Georgia, or we're going to burn the trailer parks down. That's going to happen. I don't think it should be that way. But I also think that if it's going to be a good playoff, you should probably have those two teams in it. I really agree with that. But someone's going to have some hurt feelings. Someone is going to have some hurt feelings. Megan with a comment online. He says, all he knows is Florida is not getting in. Good point, sir. Good point. 803-978-1832. This scenario is not really that far-fetched. You could end up with an even bigger set if Wake Forest wins the ACC and they finish 13-0. Are we going to tell, in that scenario, an undefeated conference champion from the Big 12, an undefeated conference champion from the ACC, and an undefeated G5 team with 2 wins over Power 5 programs on the road? Yeah, you can't go in the playoffs. What do you think would happen? 803-978-1832, 803-978-1832. That is the number to dial if you would like to join me here on the rundown. SEC Dog with a good point. The season's only 50% over. That's the safe answer. SEC Dog is going with the diplomatic answer. Rob, stop putting out these chaos scenarios. Yeah, I think that he's probably right. Another comment there. Biscuit says, I don't think that would happen at all. Just talking about disaster. Yeah. But if we get to that point, uh-oh. Brandon says he watches, of course, on the WVOC YouTube page, that he watches our Gamecock postgame show on WVOC with Tim Frisbee and Justin Hall. Yeah, thank you. Thank you for that. You can watch that too. Talk about the Gamecocks and everything else. 803-978-1832. Jay says there could be a 3-way tie in the West. Yeah, I'd have to look at that. When you look at the rest of Ole Miss's schedule, they should be right there in the mix too. Yeah, I know they lost to Alabama, but I look at the rest of Georgia's schedule. I don't really see anything on Georgia's schedule where they're going to have some issues. I really don't. All right, let's go out to the phones. 803-978-1832. Good afternoon. Welcome to the rundown.
Yeah, I got to make a prediction before Bluegrass Sports Media can get on here and do it. I predict Kentucky not to lose this week. And I've got a question for you.
Sure.
Do you have any idea what's going on in Mississippi State with their quarterback situation? And I'll get off here and listen to what you got to say.
Yeah, I got to research that. I know that they've had some issues at quarterback. When I have something, I will put it out there, probably on the blog page, but I'll mention it as soon as I have something concrete. Apparently, I think one of their quarterbacks did show up for there's just all kind of stuff out there. But yeah, we'll get to that. Let's go back out to the phones. Welcome into the rundown. Good afternoon.
Hello, Rob. It's Bobby and Casey again. Good afternoon.
Hey, Bobby, what's up?
Okay. Since I'm a big supporter of Phil Steele's magazine,
yeah,
Oklahoma, they did have one loss, and he picked them to be a national champion. Now, I don't know if he based that on...
Josh Pate picked Clemson to win the national title. I think he does a pretty good job, so everybody's going to have egg on their face at some point.
Well, I don't know if he I guess he based that on talent and being able to outscore everybody, but look how Spencer Rattler's fell off the field. And by no means I'm not an Oklahoma booster or supporter. So, he did. His magazine is seen as one of the best. He picked them. And so, you could draw your conclusions on the playoff from that. I think it would be nice for Cincinnati. I'm not a fan of theirs either. To show the rest of the country it's just not a southeast-oriented college football playoff,
right?
AKA Florida, Georgia, Alabama, and Clemson all the time,
yeah,
or LSU. But also one thing about tonight's NFL game,
sure.
Broncos at Browns. Baker Mayfield is out with an injured shoulder because of the tackle he made after he threw an interception.
Yeah,
Teddy Bridgewater, often injured. Saints and Broncos, often injured at Louisville. He is supposed to play for the Broncos. Yeah. So anybody who has a little wagering interest on tonight's game, there's some information I've gathered off Twitter for
us. Yeah, man.
Your program this afternoon. That's on NFL Network and Fox. Have a great afternoon.
All right, man. Thanks a lot. And I appreciate the NFL stuff there, but I'm watching the Braves tonight because I don't really care about 2 backup quarterbacks playing. I know there are going to be people that will place a wager. I know that's going to happen. You feel free to do that. I know that if you can do it legally, don't sit there and say, Rob said that I should place a wager, even though our governor is stupid enough that he thinks that we're stupid, that we're too dumb to make bets, even though we could fix a lot of our budget problems with having some gambling in our state. I mean, it's happening anyway. Just saying, allegedly. So I'm going to get in trouble for that one day, running my mouth against the governor of the fine state of South Carolina. Old Henry McMaster might pop me in the face. That's all right. I can take one good shot. All right, 803-978-1832, 803-978-1832. That is the number to dial if you'd like to join us here on the Rundown. This is Fox Sports Radio 1400. Rob says the program at Florida is regressing. I don't think Dan Mullen can spell regressing. Wasn't mocking you, Rob. Mullen is a dope. He really is. I think that South Carolina can beat them. If South Carolina has like their A game, I think they can beat them. I do. That's going to happen. Watch. Welcome back to the Rundown on Fox Sports Radio 1400. Around the world on the iHeartRadio app. I'm Rob Sanders. Out to the phones we go. Welcome into the show.
Rob, it is Megan. Would you care to guess what I called to talk about today?
Sure. I mean, unless we're going to talk, about something completely silly. Hopefully, it's relevant to the program. What do you got for the show, man?
Another day, another stud offensive player goes down at Georgia.
Oh man,
I don't know. Maybe there is something to that Muschamp curse. I've told you all season I don't want him on the team. I don't want him around the team. I have said that, right?
Man, you moonwalk better than Michael Jackson ever dreamed of. I swear to you, your theme music on the afternoon show here is going to be Billie Jean. I'm gonna image that up because you spin and moonwalk. I mean, just fluently. I mean, you have magic feet, sir.
Sir, I reserve the right to change my mind every now and then. Is that a crime?
No, it's not.
Listen.
It's not a crime. But when you change your mind, I'm just going to call you a moonwalker. You were telling me that. I mean, I've got you were on the show like last week talking about Muschamp this and Muschamp led special teams and all of that.
Yeah.
So I mean,
well, I told you I struggle with substance abuse. So that's
yeah.
that's the bottom line.
You're chemically imbalanced. I think that's what it is. I really believe that.
For those of you who are not Georgia fans and what you're watching every week, keep in mind here's a list of offensive injuries. Your number one stud QB, he's out. Every single starting receiver, for the most part, has been out this entire year. When we have had a starter in there, he's been hobbling around on one leg. And now probably the best pure running back on the team is going to be out for, they're saying, multiple weeks. One of the best offensive linemen, first series of the season, he's out for the year. I mean, you can't make this stuff up, and somehow Georgia has been plugging along. I personally think that this is the week, not this week, but next weekend, that all this catches up to Georgia. Someone's going to catch Georgia, and Georgia's going to have to outscore them, and they can't do it with every single stud in street clothes. No team in America can.
You've been complaining about injuries forever. You were complaining about injuries before the Clemson game, and you dominated the Clemson game. Come on,
and it's
man.
only gotten worse.
Come
but
on,
the injury
man.
situation has only gotten worse.
Everything with you is injuries this and injuries that. Why can't you just enjoy what you have? Do you know how many teams would love to be where Georgia is right now, where pretty much everybody and their brother is like, man, that is a hell of a football team. You can't enjoy it for anything, can you?
I'm calling the Florida game now, and it's based on injuries, Rob. I'm telling you right now.
So you're picking Florida to win.
I am.
You're picking Florida to win. So you and Hollywood can get together and you can enjoy that whiskey down there and whatever. What was it, Moncrief? You guys can go down there together and have some whiskey.
Well, I'll tell you this. If you remove Florida's starting QB, all of their starting receivers, and probably their best running back, I'll tell you, I like Georgia's chances then, and that's what we're facing.
So what you're telling me is that Georgia is a flawed team, and everything that you've been telling me about Georgia and what I've seen and what everybody else has seen is just a load of crap? Is that what you're telling me?
A flawed team, if you count injuries, which are, some would argue unavoidable.
So on the defensive side of the ball, now granted, we haven't heard, and let's be honest about this too. I think Tennille said it earlier in the 11 o'clock show I did, that Kirby Smart is an anomaly as far as the way that he does his injuries. No, reporting injury. No, he's a liar when it comes to that. He lies about injuries. Him and Muschamp have the same syndrome. A guy can rip his leg off and get beaten with it, and he may be probable this weekend. That's just kind of the way that Kirby Smart thinks. But as far as what we do know, there's nothing stopping that Georgia defense right now. They're still going to be dominant. So,
yeah, but that's one of three phases of the game, Rob. I mean, the only reason people aren't talking about our offense the same way they're talking about our defense is because they've been in street clothes the whole year.
Wait a minute.
I mean, if you take,
I just had Biscuit on the show earlier, and he was telling me that your offense is basically right there with Alabama as far as yards per play, with everybody in street clothes. Now, are we calling Biscuit a liar,
sir?
I'm just asking questions, sir.
Give me a break. I know you're enjoying this. You really are. I know you are.
It's a fair question. Biscuit was on here and he laid out great numbers for us and said that the Georgia offense is comparable to Alabama. If they ran the same number of plays, Alabama would have 6 more yards, I think was the term that he used, in a game. That's comparable, right?
What's Georgia averaging points per game? Somewhere in the 30 neighborhood, is that right?
Yeah, I mean they're terrible with 30 points a game, man. Absolutely terrible.
I understand you say that, but at some point, someone's going to score in bundles on Georgia, and they're going to have to do.
So you think that Florida is going to score in bundles? I mean, Mullen doesn't know what quarterback to put out there. He's still brain dead on that front.
See, I think they turned the corner. And I know the guy threw 2 interceptions, but I think they turned the corner in that LSU game. I know that everybody laughs at that, but I'm telling you, they looked different towards on offense anyway. I know he threw a couple picks, but I'm telling you right now, what I saw scares me, and then the injury situation compounds it.
All right, look, Beck and Megan, I'm gonna do you a favor, sir. You have got to enjoy what you have. You have a bye week this week, right? I mean, Georgia's not playing. Just kick back, because guess what? Everybody else is going to play this weekend. When they have the polls next week, you're still going to be the number 1 team in the country. You have the number 1 team in the country with an absolutely stellar defense and some guys that can put together I think is 30-something points a game. And you've got a Florida team that is a gong show that you're going to play. You should be happy. Smile, sir. You've got to do that.
The table is set in Jacksonville. That's all I'm saying. The stage is set. I can see what's coming, and I'm terrified of it. So anyway, no chance on enjoying the bye week for me, not with the injury situation. 43-18, Rob.
Have a wonderful day, sir. I mean, these Georgia fans, you can't tell them anything. You got all you folks in the chat room. All you folks in the chat room, you see that what I did there. I tried to give him the positive side of it. I'm serious. I think that Georgia's probably going to be a 17-point favorite, something like that. I don't. I mean, maybe SEC Dog's right. Maybe Beggin' Megan is trolling. I don't know. I think I kind of believe that, though. Maybe I don't think he's trolling, but maybe he's just being silly. Let's go back out to the phones. Welcome into the rundown. Good afternoon.
How's it going? Bluegrass Sports Media.
Hi, what's up? Are you going to tell me that the Kentucky's going 11-1? I don't want to hear that.
I don't got to say that right now because what did I just hear?
What? Everything I said was factual. What are you talking about?
No, not you. Not you.
You're talking about Beggin' Megan?
Beggin' Megan. What? That's like a guy who lives in a mansion looking at a guy who lives in a trailer. I'm like, I'm really scared he's going to take my job. Like, goodness gracious. Florida's awful. I don't understand. You did it all year without skill players.
Yeah. I don't buy into all of that. I think that I don't know where Beggin' Megan's coming from, but he's been complaining about injuries all year long. Before the Clemson game, it was the same thing. We've got our 8th string wide receivers out, so we've got 6 5-stars in front of him, but I don't know how we're going to compete. Don't know how we're going to compete.
And the only guy you need to be worried if he gets hurt is Jordan Davis. Like, goodness gracious, that defensive line, there's no one blocking them all season. They've already played the best offensive line they're going to play all season.
Well, we shall see. Do you have anything else for the program?
Nothing that can be said on air. So, no.
Have a great day. We'll see you later on.
See ya.
All right, there you go. Bluegrass Sports Media. He's still upset. His Wildcats got popped on the snout. His feelings are hurt. Went over LSU, went over Florida. Still don't do anything. Bump, bump, bump. Quick break. When we come back, we'll have more for you here on the Rundown. This is Fox Sports Radio 1400. Yeah, I don't think Beggin' Megan's trolling, gentlemen. I don't. He truly believes that. He truly believes that. Don't believe me? Have at it. Ask him. Jackpot with a good point. They're a 14-point favorite early. Yeah. Look, he was talking about injuries before the Clemson game. I mean, he's made comments before about maybe there's something wrong with the way that practice is handled down there. I don't know. We have to give Bluegrass Sports Media credit. I mean, his program is a gong show, and he still shows up. Hollywood's somewhere laughing, probably, Alan. That wouldn't surprise me. By the way, jackpot last night. But I think it was Biscuit that told him enjoy your time at the Super 8. Holy crap, man. That's just backhanded nonsense throwing at jackpot when he's on vacation. Y'all go to hell with all that. Whoever said that, that was some meanness. Oh, goodness. Welcome back to the Rundown on Fox Sports Radio 1400. Loving the Georgia fans. Begging Megan, noted Georgia apologist, who was, in his 40s when Georgia won their last national title. Now he's 85 and calling the program and saying that injuries are going to keep them down against a Florida team that lost to a team where a guy got fired. How do you lose to a team where the coach is getting fired? That's what Florida did. But they're going to be better than Georgia, the number one ranked team in the country. I think Beggin' Megan, if Georgia wins a national title, he can't acknowledge it. That's what I think. I think it should come down to that. I think he should, like everybody runs around in their national championship Georgia T-shirts and all that. He doesn't get to wear one. Or if he does, it's like just a Georgia smock, one of those things. 803-978-1832. 803-978-1832 is the number to call if you'd like to join me here on the Rundown. I do have three candidates that I think that should be in the mix for the LSU program. One should be, I think if you're going to shoot for the stars like they think Scott Woodward's going to do, I think that you got to go to Lane Kiffin and tell him something. I don't know what it is. Maybe you can offer him more money. LSU's a better program than Ole Miss, right? You can come here. We just won a national title a couple of years ago. You got to, jazz it up a little bit. On that note, I think that Lane Kiffin should at least be offered. I think that I say high flying, but he develops great offense wherever he's at. He's been through Nick Saban's coach revitalization program, and it works. So Lane Kiffin should be number one. That's the first guy. Mel Tucker, by the way, at Michigan State should be the second guy that's on the list. So Bruce Feldman's already reported that there's some interest from some of the high-ranking folks there. He tweeted out, Mel Tucker to LSU. Michigan State head coach is popular among influential people in Baton Rouge. I mean, they hired, a Michigan State coach before. That kind of worked out well for them. So there's that. And the final one, if they want to stay in state, and I know that sounds silly, but go to Louisiana and hire Billy Napier. That's kind of the way they should go. Now, the people that they should avoid, in my opinion, Jimbo Fisher is number one. Why? He's got a 10-year, it's going to take at least probably a 10-year, $100 million contract to get Jimbo Fisher. And I don't think Jimbo Fisher has done enough to warrant a $100 million contract, in my opinion. So there's that. Number two is I don't think they should go after Mario Cristobal at Oregon. So he did spend time on Nick Saban's staff, but I just think that's just He's basically pushing for his second top 25 finish as a head coach, and the first without Justin Herbert, who's in the NFL right now. Biscuit says Cristobal is overrated. I'm kind of agreeing with that. And finally, I don't think they should go after Joe Brady from the Carolina Panthers. He's 32 years old. Spent one season coaching in front of people, as far as coaching in front of from the field is what I'm trying to get at. And I don't think you bring a 32-year-old in that's on the record that he's not really into recruiting. I don't know if he's ready to do that. You're going to give him a Corvette, basically, which is what the LSU program is. It's got some dings in it right now. It's like Coach Orgeron was kind of drunk a little bit and went and hit a couple of fire hydrants or whatever. The reality is, though, that it's still a great program. And I don't think you should turn it over to somebody that, in theory, he's 32. He's going out to recruit, and he's probably older, or he's probably the parents that he's recruiting are going out to recruit to are probably at least 10 to maybe 15 years older than he is. Just saying. I don't think that works too well. Not in the land of big boy football in the SEC West. But those are the three I think that they should avoid. 803-978-1832. 803-978-1832. That is the number to call if you'd like to join us here on the Rundown this afternoon on Fox Sports Radio 1400 around the world on the iHeartRadio app. I'm Rob Sanders. Thanks for joining me today. Jay asked, can I confirm or deny that I snort Crystal Light to drop weight instead of normal Kool-Aid? No, I drink water and I drink Zoa, the Rocks energy drink. Yes, I've gotten hooked on the Zoas. I buy those from the vitamin shop. So it's pretty much water and Zoa, which is kind of funny. But thanks for joining us here on the program. 803-978-1832, 803-978-1832. Let's take a quick call. Welcome into the Rundown. Good afternoon.
Hey, Rob, how you doing?
Hey, buddy, what's up?
Not much. Hey, Rob, I don't think Jamie Terry is not where Lee Coach Keller does yet.
No, I don't think that he'll go to LSU. I don't think that they'll go that far, but we'll see.
Yeah, because he got a lot of work to do, you know.
Yeah, well, I think they did lose last night and drop that game to App State. They can't win forever, and I just remember where Coastal was like 3 or 4 years ago, and he's built a solid program down there. So there's that.
Oh,
man.
yeah. Oh, yeah.
All right, buddy.
Yeah,
I have to go to the end of the show, but man, thank you for calling. All right.
All right. Take care, Rob.
All right. There you go. Thanks so much. And I appreciate everyone that's called in the program. You guys are awesome for joining the show. We appreciate that as always. Biscuit says LSU should hire Jim Dunn. My goodness. 803-978-1832. Actually, I'm out of time. I'll tell you what, you should listen to Lawton Swan of Clemson Sports Talk. He is the czar of Clemson Sports.
Stop looking at me, Swan.
You can follow him on Twitter at Clemson Sports. I'm on Twitter at Rob Sounds Good. Appreciate Teddy Hefner letting me fill in for him this morning. Hopefully I didn't put his audience into a state of shock. Teddy's been doing sports talk radio since I was a kid. I'm not putting Teddy's age out there. Let's just say that he is the Coca-Cola classic of sports talk. He's been doing it that long. I don't know if he's like the Coke that they had cocaine in. I don't think he's that old, but he's been doing it for a long time. It was cool to fill in for Teddy today. I appreciate him letting me do that. And I appreciate the folks watching today. I appreciate the callers that called in today. And of course, we're getting jacked for the weekend. We've got picks tomorrow, so stand by for that. Appreciate y'all as always. We'll see you tomorrow on the Rundown. This is Fox Sports Radio 1400. Yeah, Jay, you don't bother me, man. I don't. That doesn't bother me, man. You can say whatever you want to say. People been ragging me about, Rob's a chunky fool and all. I don't care. I'm way past that, man. I think I have bad genetics, and I'm gonna be a chunky bastard anyway. I mean, I do 30 minutes on a stair climber 6 days a week, and I lift weights 6 days a week. Now I eat like crap. I admit that, but pretty strong, pretty healthy. Trying anyway. All right, you guys are awesome. We'll see you later on. Jackpot getting in late. All right, y'all. See you later.